I think they need somebody real to start teaching classes. Now, obviously, I didn't show off my best material, but that's because I didn't practice. I'm a practice to performer, okay? I don't cold perform, I practice and I show up. I feel like if I was really a teacher on some stuff, I would have like tight shit. It's gonna be me, it's gonna be chat, and we are reactivated for the one, the only, the homie, Dumanity. Dumanity? How American schools create violence and stupidity. Now,
Violent.
I may be stupid, but one thing I am not is not violent. Will I switch a down though? Like, yeah, but that's not necessarily violence. That's like different. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, and we're also kind of dumb.
Only 37% of high school seniors were academically prepared for college, math, and reading courses.
Why are so many American adolescents so violent and uneducated? Because our school system is—
Who's uneducated? Who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow? It's Sleepy Hollow. Who's the dude that he do song with? Sleepy Hollow, Sleepy Hollow, Sleepy Hollow. Chef G, Chef G, Chef G, Chef G, Chef G. What precious stones were originally used to polish axes in the Stone Age? Gemstones. Let's go gemstones. If they're asking specific, let's go emerald. Emerald, emerald. That was right in front of me. That was right in front of me. That one, I overthought that one. I overthought that one. What cartoon by Mike Judge is the 1999 film Office Space based on? If it was 1999, what cartoons were out before 1999? I'm gonna just go Mickey Mouse. Milton. That's not even fair. I wasn't even born. What university was Dwight D. Eisenhower from? Dwight D. Eisenhower. Howard University. Columbia. Okay. Well, we've gone 0 for 4. We can't do that much worse. Coffee beans come from which plant? Cacao? Cacao. Last one. Let me get Valhalla. Let me get Valhalla. What is Valhalla? The education system failed me, and I am a product of my environment. Though I don't agree that this is where my knowledge reflects and resides at scholastically, just know that they did fail me. 0 for 6 is freaking crazy. Of course, coffee comes from a coffee plant.
It's absolute garbage. 44% of American high school students experience school-related violence. 22% of students reported being in a physical fight. In the US, school fights happen all the time, and for petty reasons. Hardly anybody is shocked when a fight breaks out. And this violence isn't only between students. It's not rare to hear about fights between students and teachers as well. Some students have assaulted their teachers, leaving them severely injured. There are 2 big reasons why fights are so common in America. The first is because school authorities put very little effort into stopping violence. As punishment for school violence, students are usually suspended for a few days or receive a short detention. Some students even get away with it scot-free. Students don't fear the repercussions.
Oh my gosh, did he get lifted?
Some students even get away with it scot-free.
Oh my goodness. He lifted Buddy outside of the blurred bubble. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, he changes buses after he gets slammed right here. Yeah, his whole bus changes after this. I'm not gonna lie. Do you see what ground this is? This is the hardest ground you could possibly have at a school. If he gets slammed on this, his bus becomes just a little bit shorter. I'm not gonna lie.
Students don't fear the repercussions of their violence, so they are much more inclined to fight. And another reason why fights are so common in America is because social media glorifies these fights. Students will record and upload these fights onto TikTok and Instagram.
For sure, WorldStar was doing irreparable damage to every school system.
And get millions of views. This has led to a culture which treats school fights as entertainment and encourages students to fight.
We could acknowledge two things at once. Them school fights was entertaining. Let's not lie. Them school fights was entertaining. Let's not lie.
For praise and attention. The constant violence in public schools has left many children to fear going to school.
He's terrified to come to school. Every day is the same thing all day, from morning till the time they get out. Different fights.
But
he terrified to come to school, but he got that mask on. If you got that mask on, come to school and get ready to shoot something. Wait. That sounds wrong. I meant it in a gang affiliated way, not in you know which way I didn't mean it in. Not in that way. I meant it in like a gang, because when you do a gang activity, it's with a mask on.
School fights aren't the only source of violence. Bullying is also a massive problem in American schools. 22% of middle school and high school students report being bullied at school, and half of all students have experienced school-related cyberbullying. 160.
I never got cyberbullied. I'll say that. Boy, did I get bullied in person? Yes! 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 100 times yes! Oh my gosh, yes! Did I face cyberbullying? Not at all. Not even a little bit. Not even like an ounce of cyberbullying ever grazed my entire existence. In person though, I'm not gonna lie, what them kids did to me in person, I think I genuinely deserve reparations. And I'm Haitian. Like, I really, like, what was said to me to my face, I'm on my tippy toes, to my face, literally could single-handedly get me reparations. I'm not gonna lie.
1,000 American children miss school every day in fear of bullying. A Yale study found that bully victims are between 2 to 9 times more likely to consider unaliving themselves. In America, it's not uncommon for a child to unalive themselves because of bullying. This bullying—
Shoot, they talking about bullying. This is an Instagram caption, not a bar. They talking about bullying me has a 2-time chance of unaliving myself. That's something that I won't explore. But since they want me to off myself anyways, I copped the whip and went suicidal doors. That's the doors. That's the doors that go up. Look, 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 look. That's the junk that go out. You see it right here. Door, 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 door. It means that instead of getting bullied and letting bullying harm our generation, we went and chased money instead. Please don't ban me. This is a great place where I get to connect my community. I was talking about the car. Look, this is a very expensive car. If we went shopping for this right now, look at the price tag. They're just showing the doors, but you know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? These are very expensive mobiles. If somebody got this, they would be really successful. Let's lock in on understanding what's happening. My career is on the line.
Isn't just an issue of students, but schools and faculty are also responsible for this.
Yeah,
students often face very minimal consequences for bullying.
The kid throwing punches was suspended for 3 days.
25% of teachers see nothing wrong with bullying, and teachers only intervene in 4% of bullying incidents. Here's a video showing a school bus driver encouraging a student to beat up another student.
Beat the hell out of him. Do it!
And this is why I'm not ready to be a dad. I'm so sorry for pausing. This is why I'm not ready to be a dad. As soon as my son comes home, Dad, I got today at school, and on the bus driver told the kid to
beat the hell out of him.
As soon as I hear that, the bus driver did what? You said the bus driver did what? Oh, okay. No. I thought you said the bus driver. Oh, he did say that. Okay, no problem. That's okay. You said the bus driver said, you said the bus driver said what? No. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm not gonna do nothing, babe. I'm not gonna do nothing. Now, what does your bus driver look like again? Tell. No. He sounds like a great. He's 5'4". Okay, cool. You said Caucasian. Oh, bet. Okay. Oh, he picks you up at. All right, bet. Soon as the bus driver come around the corner, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Oh, this one actually had water in it. I just got my whole entire setup wet. Why does this have water in it? at least you guys know that I have fantastic aim. Can we at least take a second to acknowledge that? Great aim, great aim. I would have been on America's Most Wanted by that afternoon, though.
Do it!
I can't hear that.
Bullied at school. He would come home with bruises, as kids would beat him up at school and on the school bus.
Wow.
He was chased, poked, punched, and stuffed into a garbage can. Instead of helping him, Sammy's teachers punished him for, quote, disruptive conduct. Sammy's parents contacted the school 20 times about this problem, but the school did nothing. On May 5th of 20...
I'm not contacting no school 20 times. If I even get the impression that I have to contact you more than twice about a situation, the next contact is going to be with a physical item, gang. I'm not contacting no school 20 times about my kid. I told you once, it still happened. I told you twice, it still happened. Yeah, the next contact is physical, gang.
2024, Sammy unalived
my
himself.
kid.
His bullies never received a single consequence for their actions. If his school had stepped in, Sammy would still be alive. This kind of tragedy has happened in multiple schools in multiple states across America, all because schools have failed to take action. This is the same school system that breeds school shootings. There's a strong link between school shooters and having experienced bullying. Adolescents who have been bullied at school are 49% more likely to carry guns. Our school systems program violence and hatred into students, so it should be no surprise that school shootings are so common in America. But school districts put very little effort into addressing and fixing the root cause that leads to school shooting incidents. If schools actually stood up against bullying instead of always letting it slide, school shootings would decrease drastically. The American school system creates generations of toxic and violent individuals who have learned that they can get away with hurting others. Violent kids don't suddenly grow out of it one day. They simply become violent adults. But the only thing worse than a violent generation is a violent and uneducated generation. America spends $857 billion annually on K-12 schools, which is $16,280 per student. That's more money per student than any other country. But America ranks 26th in math and 10th in science. Only 26% of 8th graders are proficient at grade level math. One large reason for this is a shortage of teachers. Along with this, American teachers work an average of 53 hours a week, 7 hours more than the typical working American. This is
streaming is way harder than a... Nah, I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking.
It's because teachers have a lot of duties beyond simply teaching, such as grading, lesson planning, and administrative tasks. And to make matters even worse, students are often disrespectful or sometimes even violent towards their teachers. As a result, the teaching industry has become very undesirable for many people, leading to a shortage of teachers. Between February of 2020 and May of 2022, 300,000 public school teachers quit their jobs. That's roughly 3% of the workforce. Because of this shortage, teachers are now assigned massive class sizes, which makes it harder for each student to receive the specialized help they need. This also means that school districts have lowered standards for hiring teachers in order to make up for the shortage. The number of underqualified teaching hires increased by 69% from 2022 to 2023. Now, American schools are full of terrible, incompetent teachers who are hurting the country. I remember back in high school, teachers would assign us massive packets of reading and questions. Meanwhile, they would sit in their stupid chairs and use their computers instead of actually teaching the class.
If you would just get up and teach them instead of handing them a freaking packet, yo. There's kids in here who don't learn like that. They need to learn face to face.
In America, it's very common to come across classes where students are forced to learn everything by themselves rather than be taught. And no matter how much students and parents complain, school districts almost never do anything about it. Due to the shortage of teachers and the protection from teachers' unions, school districts can't just replace teachers who aren't doing their job. With such terrible teachers, it's only natural that students aren't learning properly.
I fear that I might have to step in. I think that's like the last piece of the puzzle for school systems. I think they need somebody real to start teaching classes. Now, obviously, I didn't show off my best material, but that's because I didn't practice. I'm a practice to performer, okay? I don't cold perform, I practice and I show up. I feel like if I was really a teacher on some stuff, I would have like tight shit.
And another big problem is the lack of funding. In America,
show your score again. That was a foul, and I want you to know that.
A big portion of funding for public schools comes from the taxpayer money of the community. This means that schools in wealthy communities are well funded, but schools in low-income communities are poorly funded. So if you live in America, your quality of education and therefore your prospects of success are largely determined by the community that you live in. This problem can be seen in low-income cities like Detroit, where only 3% of 4th graders are proficient in math. Low-income students enter high school with literacy skills 5 years behind high-income students. Only 14% of low-income students graduate college, compared to 60% of high-income students. It's quite clear that schools in lower-income communities need more funding. America spends $857 billion annually on public education. So where is all of that money going?
To the top of it, right? I would assume that it goes to like the top of the funnel.
Well, a big chunk of it is going towards administrative staff. From 2000 to 2019, the number of administrative staff increased by 88%, and the number of principals and assistant principals increased by 37%, while the number of students and teachers only increased by 8%.
Wow.
This shows how a disproportionate share of resources is going into administrative functions rather than—
I was saying the same exact concept for TV shows and TV networks, and why a lot of TV networks are dying right now. I think this same thing applies.
And directly supporting students and teachers. Maybe if funding was actually allocated correctly, our academic performance wouldn't be so low. Another large problem is that schools have allowed students to be lazy. In America, teenagers between ages of 15 and 17 spend an average of 1 hour a day on homework. Meanwhile, American teenagers spend an average of 8.5 hours on their phone daily. 1 in 5 teenagers report watching YouTube almost constantly, and parents are also responsible for this problem. Only 43% of kids say their parents check their grades more than once a month. As a result, students can laze around and waste their time without being held accountable.
Bro.
Education in America has been in a steady decline for a while now. The government tried to fix these problems by implementing academic standards called the Common Core, but this actually made things even worse. Common Core sets standards for what students should know at each grade level to ensure that students are learning efficiently. And now this all sounds good on paper, but in reality—
I don't know much about the education system, but the No Child Left Behind thing didn't make sense for me. I definitely think some people need to be left behind, gang. Like, I really think not everybody should just get that green light to move past the grade. I think you should have to do the work and be able to do the thing to move on to the next grade. I'm not gonna lie, bro, and if you don't, bro, you might have to be in school for 25 years, gang. I'm not gonna lie, you cannot be outside on the streets with that level of knowledge. Common Core was one of the worst things in a minute.
Common Core has only—
I don't know what Common Core is. What is Common Core?
Hurts the education system of America. First off, Common Core operates with a one-size-fits-all approach, which assumes every student learns at the same pace. This system takes power away from teachers and schools, who understand their students best, and instead dictates students' learning based off the government's own ideals. And the biggest flaw with Common Core is the confusing math methods it imposes onto children. You have 8 seconds to solve this math problem.
What?
Go.
Oh, 100. Okay, 60 would be 40, so we would get to 45. 35!
Was your answer 35? Well, you get 0 points. If you didn't use the quantum linear dimensional isolation method to solve the question, then you didn't do it correctly. This is the BS that every child in America goes through. You see, Common Core requires students to solve math questions using confusing steps and algorithms. If students don't use these methods, they automatically fail the question, even if their answer is correct.
That's a thing? What? No, that's crazy. That's legitimately crazy. This was not in school when I was in school. What? Whoa. Is that to like fight against AI or something? What?
As a kid, I had a very hard time understanding Common Core math, which led to me constantly getting low scores on my tests and classes. It was insanely demoralizing and I felt stupid. Well, it turns out I'm actually really good at math. In high school, where Common Core is less present, learning calculus was very easy for me, and I scored very highly on my exams. I also got a near perfect score on the math segment of my SAT. So how come learning basic algebra was so difficult for me as a kid? Common Core has created a very confusing system of learning, which has led many students to learn less efficiently and hate their classes. Common Core? More like Common L. You might be wondering, how does terrible education affect America? Well, the effects are really bad. Because so many students receive terrible education, America now has the worst educated workforce in the industrialized world.
I'm telling you, bro, it's doctors that finna be stitching your chest together with a sewing kit, gang. It's over.
54% of US adults have a reading proficiency below the 6th.
So are these wizard spells? What the heck is this? Yo, no, actually look at, what are we looking at right now? Cinderula, we know, no, my table just started floating. Genius reward, Vomento Vaca? Bro, my lights just turned off. Coheto Kalita Kahas, a ghost just popped up. Like, what is this? What are these? Bro, what the heck, bro? Let me read a book, nigga. Let me read a... Ew, I can't read a book, bro.
And 21% of US adults are illiterate. This is embarrassing, considering we are the wealthiest country in the world. Now you know how bad America's school system is. So how do we fix it? Well, it's actually quite simple. Firstly, to address violence and bullying, schools need to hold students more accountable. Currently, students barely receive any punishment for bullying and violence. There should be more severe consequences, such as mandatory community service or being expelled. This seems like a very simple fix, but very little progress has been made. To address the shortage of teachers, America needs to pay teachers more.
Right.
I mean, we clearly have the money to pay them.
Right.
Where's that $857 billion going? We also need to remove these teachers who do nothing but hand out packets. The school system is paying them as they contribute to the academic downfall of the country. The problem of low-funded schools is also a pretty simple fix. Public schools need more funding from state and federal governments. Also, Common Core needs to go. There has not been any academic progress attributed to the implementation of Common Core. Common Core is only hurting the academic
Like, factually, it's actually hurting us.
progress in America. I recently made a video about the horrible education systems in many Asian countries, where students study up to 16 hours a day and get physically punished. These countries have the exact opposite problems that America has. Countries need to find a middle ground between these two extremes and maintain a system which develops hardworking and competent students without sacrificing their mental health for success. The truth is, this goal isn't too far-fetched. Take Finland, for example.
Sometimes I be wondering who to go. Like, you got Tom Brady, obviously. You got Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but I'm probably going with it.
Finland ranks number 7 in education, higher than China and the United States. Yet students in Finland receive very minimal homework, and the majority of primary and secondary school students enjoy their education. This shows how it's definitely possible to create a school system that's both effective and enjoyable. If we take the right steps, we might be able to bring our countries closer to this ideal school system.
Hello guys, thank you.
W video, man. Hey, if the school system don't get fixed, I'ma fix it myself. Sometimes you just gotta take things into your own hands, man. Oh shoot! And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment twice, helps me in the algo. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.